Hi, hello, I am Olivia once again and doing this live on the channel Profits and Wealth. On this channel, I talk about business, news, and of course, any other topic that affects communities and also when I have an opinion about it. One of my biggest gripes is customer service, especially bad customer service. Like I always say to someone, we are so quick to complain when we receive bad service. But when we receive good service, we keep quiet because that is just how we condition. It says misery loves company. But when you have a problem with maybe a service provider or a shop and you start looking around and you discover that, hang on, you are not the only one who's having an issue with this company. There are many other people in the same boat and it feels as if we are not being heard. And this is the issue that I find now with WebAfrica. When I first heard about WebAfrica, it was one of the service providers, the way that they promoted and advertised themselves. There was this funny guy, like flipping fast internet. There were billboards. I can remember driving along the N1 or the M1 and seeing this billboard and telling myself every time, when I get home, I must find out and I must Google these guys because they had such a fun feeling about them. This was roughly 2017, 2018, but of course they've been in existence before that. And we did sign up with them a few years later. Service was outstanding. This was before fiber. We took out an LTE subscription with them. Brilliant. Good service. Excellent communication. I remember I had an issue with my billing. I picked up the phone and in no time it was sorted out. It was one of the best experiences that I've had, but this was before 2020. But before I go any further, I want you to let's take a look and see who is WebAfrica, where they started, and how long they have been in existence. WebAfrica was founded by Matthew Tag in 1997, so they're not just a small baby organization. They've been around since 1997. The company was reformed in 2003 when its second full-time employee was hired, and they have since grown to a multi-million rand business. But in 2011, WebAfrica announced that Wyatt Gunning would take over from Tag as the CEO. And Tag, as the founder of WebAfrica, has relocated to Silicon Valley. I'm not sure if he's still there. And then Wyatt Gunning, who was well known for starting and heading up Storm Telecom, served as WebAfrica's Chief Sales and Marketing Officer at the time. He has been involved in the telecommunications field since 1996. First with Long Distance International in the UK before moving to South Africa in 1998 to start Storm with Tom Parsonson. So that's just a little bit of background of WebAfrica. They were started in 1997 and then they grew from a one-man business, as it seemed, to a multi-million rand business. And it was started by Matthew Tags. It was beautiful, it was a fun company, the service was good and it was excellent. So when we signed up, like I said, we had absolutely no problems. But in 2020, WebAfrica got a new CEO. Again, they announced the appointment of a new CEO, He took over from Tim Wyatt Gunning. His name was Sean Norse. He was also the CEO of MWeb before he joined. He was the CEO of MWeb before. And then Wyatt Gunning said they'd known nurse for many years from when they've entrusted the network to us in 2012. So there was a relationship. And that is how this world works. You entrust your things to people you know. So that was in 2020. Remember, 2020 was also the year of COVID-19. A lot of changes happened during 2020. 2020 was the year of COVID-19. It was the year of lockdown. It was the year that people started doing remote work. And a lot of service providers went down. They didn't, when I say, let me rephrase it. A lot of service providers, internet service providers, their services deteriorated because very few were prepared for the implications of COVID-19. For during lockdown, a lot of people started working remotely. What was required was faster internet connections. They had to protect their staff. They had to set up internal systems so that it's possible for people to work remotely. And not everyone could make a success of that. Many companies, went through such a downturn in 2020 in terms of customer service, in terms of communication, and just overall the reputational damage that businesses suffered during 2020 in terms of technology because they did not have the infrastructure in place to facilitate remote workers and at the same time to keep customer service up to an acceptable level. And that is when the downturn of WebAfrica started. First, remember I said when initially we became customers of WebAfrica, we were with them as using the LTE. We were subscribers to the LTE network. The service was excellent. You could pick up a phone, send an email. Someone was always available on the other side. But this was pre-2020. And also remember in 2020, infrastructure, because you cannot just tell your workers to work from home and then leave them to their own devices, although many companies have done that to their detriment. But when you are an internet service provider, certain structures need to be in place and the infrastructure for your employees, your customer care, your billing department, the sales department to be able to communicate with potential and existing customers. During that time, WebAfrica also made the decision to let their people, the staff, work from home. The company said this was on IT Web. The company says that it evaluated the situation and questioned staff as to what their preference is between working from home or going to the office. So WebAfrica took the decision to let their staff work from home, which from an employee point of view, this is brilliant. You save cost on petrol, you are much more productive, and it's much less stress because you spend less time on the road. You could sleep longer, spend more time with your family, even though working from home comes with its own challenges. But at that time, they took the best decision for the workforce. But what happened was that they left their customers out in the cold. 2021, the communication with WebAfrica became terrible. 2022, even worse. To now deal with WebAfrica, it's like everything just disappears into the Netherlands. When I talk about remote work, their staff working from home. This is in no way criticism of the staff of WebAfrica. This is just my take on what I think has happened. When people started working remotely, there was a lack of proper infrastructure. There was also a lack. There were not enough people to take calls and to deal with issues. But instead of addressing those issues, the management of WebAfrica, they threw lousy solutions at their customers. Now, when you have a query with WebAfrica, I want to show you what is their contact page. When you want to get hold of anyone at WebAfrica, this is what you get. They don't have an app. WebAfrica does not have an app. This is their got in contact page with us. You can see this big WhatsApp emblem here. It's utterly and completely useless. Let me say why the WhatsApp number is useless. And again, I want to say that this is not an indictment of the staff at WebAfrica. This is a message to management, because these decisions are being taken by management and you are leaving your staff hanging and dangling to deal with irate, frustrated, and rude customers. Your staff has to answer the questions of lousy management decisions, because management doesn't deal with customers. You employ people to do that, because if you have to constantly deal with customers, then what is your staff doing there? But if your staff is incapable to deal with issues, not because they can't resolve it, but because they are overwhelmed and understaffed and overworked, overburdened and stressed. As a customer, you don't want to hear any of those issues when you call WebAfrica. Or let me rephrase that. When you find this WhatsApp button, when you put a WhatsApp button on your website, especially a multi-million rand business, when you put a WhatsApp button there, the expectation is that I will be able to speak to a real person on the other side, not to bully the bot. Let me also mention the issue of a chatbot. To have a successful, a decent chat bot, you need to invest properly in it. A brilliant chatbot is when you're not sure, am I speaking to a person or is this an AI I'm speaking to? Then you know that you are dealing with a brilliant chatbot. But to the management of WebAfrica, and I know you've heard this a million times before, I know this is nothing new to you. Either you don't care about your customers or you don't have the capacity to serve us properly. But what we do get from the management, I will not even speak to the staff because they take instructions from management. When you make a decision, it has an effect on your staff and on your customers as well. Mr. Nose, Mr. Nurse. It has an effect because we are the ones who are making use of your service. We are not being heard. We are not being heard at all. When you use this, I want to go back to this because you keep on being referred to the WhatsApp page. When you go to this WhatsApp number, the WebAfrica WhatsApp number, what you get is Vali the bot. Vali the bot sends generic messages over and over. Vali the bot is capable of communicating with clients. Because like I've said, when you want to use a chatbot, you need the funds and you need a team that will constantly develop that chatbot. It's clear that you don't have it at all. From where I'm sitting as your customer, it seems as if you have taken the cheapest possible option just so you can have a chatbot and just to relieve the staff of the burden of the influx of calls because they cannot manage it. But what Willie the bot is doing to WebAfrica is creating animosity and frustration. Scrap it. Scrap Willie the bot. It's absolutely useless. It does not serve a purpose. It does not answer our questions. That brings me to the staff. And as a tip, if you are a WebAfrica client and you have been struggling to get hold of them, just call the sales department. Choose the option that you want to take out a new product. That is when you actually speak to an actual human being, and do not allow them to say that they can't deal with your issue. No, you just say that I have a billing query or whatever query it is that you have, and you will not transfer me to another number. Unfortunately, like I've said earlier, the people who bear the brunt of bad management decisions, it's not management, it's the staff. And remember, right now, the staff is working from home. And can you imagine being at home? Working from home, it's not all it sounds that it makes it be. It's great. You don't have to leave your home, but it's in a way it's tougher. Because now working from home, there are no clear boundaries like in an office. There are so many things in between. Like maybe if you have a small child, you can be in the middle of a call and you have to deal with your child and you have to answer to that because you are in the confines of your home. You're not in the office. So whenever someone is working remotely and you make a call to them, you don't know what the circumstances are when they answer your call. I don't know what the issue is at WebAfrica, because when I read this, even a page, there's a page where people have started a petition against WebAfrica. To the staff, I want to say, you are brilliant, the staff at WebAfrica. You are doing an exceptional job, because whenever I do manage to speak to an actual human being at WebAfrica, they are helpful, professional, knowledgeable, and they give you the right information. So that when you drop that phone, you have all your answers and your issue is resolved. But what I cannot accept as a client of WebAfrica is Willie the bot. Willie the bot needs to go. It's an irritation and a frustration. And you can wait for up till 4 hours before there's any response on the WhatsApp message. 2 hours before there's a minimum 2 hours, if you are lucky. I don't know if the service has improved in the meantime. I honestly don't know, because I'm talking about roughly December 2022 was the last time I actually made an attempt to speak to someone from WebAfrica. What I find interesting is when you are an existing client, there's no way for you to communicate. I will come back to this again, except through these channels: WhatsApp, sales. I don't know if anyone still uses fax. And then the HR fax. Maybe those are for people who are obviously who want to work at WebAfrica. So you have WhatsApp and sales. What I found interesting is that when I called, and the first time I chose the option of general information, I can't remember what number it was. The experience was so frustrating, I just wanted to wipe it off my mind. But what I do remember, when I took the option of general options or something, it referred me to the WhatsApp group, the WhatsApp number, and I expected a person there. And I had to wait and wait for a response. I got Billy the bot. How can we help you? Giving me the same generic message over and over and over again. And then I decided when I called again, I'm going to choose sales, and hello, I actually got a person. Which means, as an existing customer, existing client of WebAfrica, you do not see fit to put the proper communication channels in place to keep me as your customer. But hello, when there's a new customer, then magically you are available. So here is the top hint that I want you to take away from this video. If you are an existing WebAfrica client, do not choose, and you call them with any query, do not choose any option except the option for new sales. Then you will actually get a person to speak to. That brings me to the other issue about WebAfrica. I have been with them for I think 2 years or longer. But before I go on, let me just say, the fiber, the connection, it's good. I am streaming this video with WebAfrica fiber. I don't even have the top end package. There are days that they throttle us. I don't know why, that the internet is incredibly slow. That sometimes I think, am I dealing with rain or WebAfrica? But I have to say, in general, the internet speed, it's very well. We don't have any problems, except occasionally. We do have a problem, and especially I guess load shedding also affects the internet speed. And for those who don't live in South Africa, let me just quickly explain what load shedding is. Load shedding is when the government, yes, the government of South Africa, our ESCOM, our national power producer. ESCOM is the entity that provides electricity to the entire country, and then they resell it to municipalities. So load shedding is when ESCOM decides that between certain times of the day, maybe for 1 hour or 3 hours or 2 hours or 6 hours, they switch off the electricity of entire areas. That is what load shedding is. Load shedding basically is we are without electricity for minimum 1 hour, maximum 8 hours. So I guess that also can affect the internet speed. But on the whole, I am happy with the speed that we have of the internet at the moment. But what I'm not happy with is the bad service of WebAfrica. And then I discovered this. It says, I want to follow on this part. WebAfrica allowed him to downgrade back to his old speed. This was an existing customer. And pay less per month without immediately paying any penalty fee. Right? So when you have, maybe you're upgraded and now you wanted to downgrade to a lesser speed or maybe less money or whatever, for whatever reason, there's no penalty involved. That's a good thing, right? Because you are an existing customer, and whether you want to upgrade or downgrade, you don't pay a fee. But listen to the next line. It says, however, before the customer could proceed with the downgrade, he had to tick off a box which said he chose to downgrade or upgrade. If he chose to downgrade or upgrade, he accepted he would have to pay a 999 Rand cancellation fee in the future should he terminate his package with WebAfrica. Let me break that down for you. What that means, that as an existing customer, client, if I now decide to cancel with WebAfrica, I would have to pay them 1,000 rand to say bye-bye. To say cheerio, adios, I'm leaving you. Let me put that in a nutshell. Let me recap all of that. In spite of getting Billy the bot, in spite of WebAfrica not having an app, in spite of bad communication, of overworking their staff, because if there were more people, more messages would have been responded much faster to. So I would assume that you don't have enough staff to deal with customers. In spite of all that, if I decide enough is enough and I want to cancel, then it means I would have to pay WebAfrica 1,000 rand. And 1,000 rand is what, roughly? How many dollars? What? I think our rand is almost $20 now. So what? That's $200 that I have to pay to say to my service, my current internet service provider, if I want to cancel for them. I feel WebAfrica is unbelievably arrogant. I think it's very disheartening because basically now we are locked into a contract that if we want to go, we have to cough up 1,000 rand from you. And last year I was considering cancelling this contract in December. And I heard about it, so I thought, you know what, this cannot be, because initially when we took out this contract, right, it came with a free router. But the agreement was when you cancel before 6 months, or I think it was before 6 months, then you have to pay 1,000 rand for the router. And I just thought, you know what, we've had it now for more than 6 months. There's no way they can still charge us for the router. But apparently, they do want to charge us for that router when we go. To use a politician's word, this is disingenuous. To expect that when someone wants to cancel, that they must pay 1,000 rand for the initial, for the cost of the infrastructure, for the cost of what it cost you, you want to recoup what it costs you to bring that customer on board. That is the justification of the CEO of WebAfrica. And WebAfrica has been, they were fined a few years ago. I think it was in 2020. WebAfrica was fined with 30,000 rand because there is no email address for cancellation on their website. They were fined for it. That was in 2020. We are now in 2022. And the contact page still look like this. There's still no email address on the contact page of WebAfrica. We have a WhatsApp and then we have sales. Other than that, there is nothing. You know, it's disappointing when you see a wonderful company, and that is what WebAfrica was. It was one of the best businesses I've dealt with before 2020. They were on point. They were professional. It was, I wanted to be with them. The marketing was brilliant, but also on the interaction with the staff at WebAfrica. The fact that I could call sales, I could call general inquiries, there was someone who could answer my call, and they took the time to answer every single question that I've had. And when I dropped the phone, I was satisfied, I was happy. This is one of the things that few business people understand. The importance of communication, the importance of resolving your customers' issues, the importance of human interaction the importance of feeling that you are being listened to, that you are being heard. Yeah, I can rant and rave and you can solve my issue. When you drop the phone, you can say that witch. But you say that witch when you have dropped the phone. And I can be on the other side of the line and say, wow, what excellent service. Tell me, the management of WebAfrica, when was the last time you have received a wow about your service? When was the last time that you got a happy customer? There might be, because with everything there are good customers. With everything there are people who appreciate what they have. What I appreciate from being your client is my internet speed. Like I've said, it gets throttled now and then, but the internet speed, on the whole, there are no issues. I'm happy, we are flowing, we can do whatever we need to do on the internet. It's a great entry package for people who wants a fiber package, who wants a fiber connection. Your pricing really is one of the best. But there comes a time that you ask yourself, when you take pricing over service, which one are you going to choose? And I just get the sense that more and more people are going to choose service over pricing. And here's the thing, you do reach a point where the service gets so bad, the lack of communication becomes so intolerable that you end up saying, you know what, I know I'm being ripped off. I know it's unfair, but I will rather pay that R1,000 and move on to a new service provider. But I hope there's a bigger and there's a huge outcry about the R1,000 that we have to pay you to leave the bad service that you provide. Not the fiber connection, but your actual customer service. I know you've heard it all before. I've seen the reviews, I've seen the complaints. I'm not sure if this will even make a difference to the bad service that we get from you, WebAfrica. And to the people who work there, like I said, you must be commended for doing your job under very difficult circumstances. Because by the time a customer reaches you, they are so angry that they can't listen to reason. And you are left to explain to customers how the process has changed. All we need from you at WebAfrica, and this is to the management, all we need from you is just more people to answer our calls, to address our concerns, to respond to our queries. That is what customer service is for. That is why you employ people. Because your internet speed, it's wonderful. It's great to use your product. But you can't offer a product without support. And that is what you need to look into. I don't know whether you hear us or not, because we do feel unheard. But it's a bit sad to see a once great company slowly deteriorating into something that people don't want anything to do with. And that is just my take on the bad service that we've been getting from WebAfrica, or not bad, the non-existent service that we are getting from WebAfrica. I hope you enjoyed listening, and please feel more than welcome to let me know, leave a comment below if there's any other businesses that you want me to talk about, good or bad, but also in a balanced way. Because it does make a difference if I share my own experiences about certain businesses, and sometimes it will just be opinion. But let me know what you think. Like and subscribe, and of course, keep on watching. Thank you so much.